Hey everybody, have you ever wanted to know how to hit your drives 20, 30 yards further? It's a silly question, isn't it? We all want to hit it further as long as we can keep the ball straight at the same time. Well, as you can imagine, this is a very popular topic for a number of my clients every single week, and this week was no exception. I had a client, Peter, he's 69 years old, comes to see me. He's got a big booming slice, and at the same time he's not hitting it anywhere either. And by the end of the session, all right, we actually had 2 sessions. By the end of 2 sessions, we managed to add a stack of distance, 20 plus yards onto his driver, and almost eliminate the slice completely. In this week's training, I'm going to show you exactly what we did step by step, so you might benefit too, because it's a very common problem what he was doing. Look, if you're new to the channel, my name's Danny Maud, and I release content every single week to help you improve your game. So if this is the kind of thing that you might be interested in, consider subscribing. So let's get cracking. What did we do with Peter this week? Well, Peter came to see me and he wants to have more distance. So one of the main sources of distance with a driver, we clearly need club head speed, right? We need club head speed and we need a consistency of strike. When we're swinging driver, one of the things that I immediately saw with Peter was this, very common problems. This is problem number 1. Peter was stood to the golf ball, and one thing with driver is because it's a long golf club, we tend to sit back away from it. Our shoulders tend to sit back. When we're hitting our irons and shorter clubs, we're more likely to sit over the golf ball, and this over the ball promotes more of an upwards motion and a downwards motion, which is what actually we want with the driver as well. But people don't. People tend to sit, bend their knees too much, they sit their shoulders back, and what they end up getting is a much more rounded motion here, where they then either swing over the top like this, or what they do is they get this drag across the ball, right? So they get this very much drag, and that, just so you can see here, just cutting, and there's no real force to get the ball up in the air, which is where power comes from with driver. We just simply get a drag across. So what we first needed to do with Peter is in order to get this drive up into the shot so we can get some power, we needed to get Peter sitting much more over the golf ball, right? So what we did was, from this position here, rather than over flexing his knees and sitting his shoulders back, we started to sit what he probably felt a little bit more this way. So when you do this, you may feel this too if your posture is used to being back there. So do check this in a mirror. So we're sitting initially shoulders more over the top of the golf ball, right? When the gravity of his body now, or center, moves this way, he's in a better position to start to move the club much more up and much more down. So that was step number 1. Get yourself in a position that allows you to bring the club up and down. Problem was, Peter had the feeling that actually you should take the club just around and around. And I said, well, if you do go around and around, how do you launch the ball up in the air with driver, right? If you want to get the ball a long way, you want to smash it up in the air to get the carry. So what we did was said, okay, we then said, so from this position, we changed his mental picture. We said, look, you've got to get the club working now back here, and you've got to get it working up into the sky here and down towards the golf ball, right? So we started to change the shape of his driver. When we did that, we did it like this. We kept his bicep reasonably connected initially to his chest. We didn't want him just to pick up the club with the arms. That's not what we're after here. What we did here is this. We kept his bicep fairly connected to his chest, and we worked the club away nice and wide, but we got the sense that he was working more up here, right? Now your checkpoint, if you do this in a mirror, is this. When you're swinging back here, you do not want the left arm lower than your shoulder line. A lot of people tend to get, when they swing back here, they can see the top part of their shoulders if they look in the mirror. You want the arm level with your shoulder line. Excuse me. So when we swing back here, that's what we're going for, a nice high motion. Because what this does then, it promotes the motion that's going down towards the golf ball here. Now, why is that important? Well, in order to hit the ball up, we need to first get the club going down. That's how we generate the power, right? So number 2 was get the movement of the club working more up into position, and your checkpoint now is much more level with the shoulders. One of the best ways to work on this, if you're used to going around, is first of all, go around, get what that feels like then go up. Go around, then go up, okay? That then is a great way then to get yourself set. Work it around, you know it's wrong, do it wrong, do it right, feel that motion, then when you've got that sensation, then it's up and down. Then we can really start to launch it. So there's the first couple of phases, and that was really session one, was getting him set into position initially, so his body's more over, getting him working the club much more up into position here, so he was in a more loaded position to strike the golf ball. And he went away and practiced that. So that's what I would like to do to suggest first, before you jump into this next phase. He then came back, and some real progress. However, as he was coming down on the golf ball, he wasn't releasing the golf club. So what we then had to do is say, look, I'm not asking you to chop down on it. What I'm asking you to do here is this. As you work the club up in position, what I then want you to do is you've got to get the club releasing through. He then said to me, well, aren't you supposed to create lag in your golf swing, Danny? You know, I thought that you had to keep the club like this, and so that's where you generate the power. And I said, well, the problem is, if you hold on to this lag position, where's the club head speed? There isn't any, because you're holding on to it. Every position you see by the top players is a static position, but that's not really what's happening. They're generating 120 plus miles an hour club head speed, so this club is moving really fast. So when you've got this club working up now, then what I want you to do is this. Practice releasing the club into this position here. I'm going to put a video in my top left hand corner here, which I when I talk about the how to release the golf club. It'll really help and complement this video. But what I want you to do is, as you work the club up into position now, I want to fire it down here. But what I'm doing here, I'm releasing the club now down. Now what's going to happen here is, as I release the club down, and then what happens to the club now? It works upwards. So it works down, but because I'm releasing it, the club bottoms out behind the golf ball and releases upwards now. And this is what's going to give me the launch. Notice the difference. It's completely different to somebody who's working around and around. How do you get the ball flying and getting those wonderful carries that you see now with the guys on TV? You don't. So you must go down first, and as you're going down, you're also releasing the club through, and this is what gives you the uplift. Does that make sense? So let's just summarize those three things that we did with Peter that made such a big difference to his drives. Step number one, you need to understand that in order to hit a very powerful drive that's going to go further, you cannot have a swing that drags around the body here. That just doesn't work. It leads to a very flat trajectories, along low trajectories with no real power. We want to get the ball launching up in the air. We never have to worry about height because we've got low spinning drivers with low loft. So what do we do? What things do we put in play? We got our shoulders more over. We didn't get them sat back. Peter was sat back here. That just promoted this rounded motion. We got our shoulders sat more over the golf ball. That was the first thing. Second thing, we made him aware that he had to swing more up and down. He was swinging, so his left arm was too low, right? So we got him aware of that. So we got him swinging low first so he could feel it, and then high. We got him to check in the mirror a couple of times so he could review this. Then I get, right, now work it back down, underneath here, not out in front, right? So up and down. That was session one. When we came back, he was hanging on to the club. It was chopping it a little bit. So session three was really about teaching him the release. So once he'd got this motion here, we'll show from this angle, this motion here, we then started to work on the release of the golf club. Now look, as he's coming downwards, he's releasing the club, and now look, the club automatically starts to hit up on the golf ball. That was enough to start him getting him launching those shots 20 plus yards further. And do you know why it got rid of the slice? There was no more drag across the golf ball now, so there's no more side spin. What we ended up creating, if you look at this now, is a movement that goes up, comes straight back down towards the golf ball. So there's no way you could slice it on a consistent basis from there. And that was it. Look, if you've got any questions on this matter or you enjoy this video, look, ask him in the comments box below. And if you know anybody of your friends that are maybe struggling with slicing or struggling with a few more bit of power, you know, consider sharing this. And if you want to receive this content in your inbox every single week, don't forget to press the subscribe button and the bell. But until next week, have a great golfing week.